This is the Professional Edge. My name is Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. We're talking about the market dilemma going on with what is the market volatility caused by the tariffs. And with that, you as a listener here on the Professional Edge is probably scratching your head saying, okay, I need some direction. I need some guidance. I have some CDs that are coming up for renewal. I was fortunate enough to get those at 5.5%, but now they're maturing. If I go to renew them, they're maybe 4% on that. And I know inflation is beating 4%. It's coming down, but it's still aggressive. For example, I got a milkshake at Chick-fil-A. It was $5.05 for, 14, 15 ounces of ice cream. Yes, occasionally you got to have a treat, but $5.05 for a milkshake is purely inflation. So what is the market dilemma? Well, okay, you look at your portfolio and we had 2 years. 2023 was up 20%, 2024 up 20%. We have to go back almost 2 decades in order to get that same rate of return of 20% back-to-back years. So we start off 2025, we're doing okay, and then boom, the tariffs are announced, and the market, quote, falls out. We have this complication of uncertainty. And a lot of businesses, a lot of investors do not like uncertainty, but it's here. What does this overall impact mean? Well, it immediately put 20 plus countries in negotiations with the United States to, quote, eliminate the tariff that President Trump announced on them. But the retaliatory tariff by the Chinese was basically received by President Trump with even a higher tariff on them. So I believe it ended at 125% tariff on all imported Chinese goods. Well, that makes that supply chain very attenuated on being fluid on moving goods in and out of the United States and in and out of China. So with that market dilemma, you say, okay, where can I place my investments that I am guaranteed my principal back? Well, think about this. The one investment is cash. That is one place that you put your money in, you're going to get your money back. But we know that cash in a savings account is not going to pay you that much. A money market is paying right at like 3.9 to 4.1%, and that's another place that you are going to protect your principal. Well, let's talk about insurance products. Yes, I said the I word, an insurance product, and it starts with an A, and that's an annuity. Guess what? There's a fixed annuity, and that is basically a contract with an insurance company which says, I'm going to place my $100,000 with insurance company A, and based on the contract terms, they are going to pay me 5.2% annually for the next 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, the contract is over and I get my principal and then I get my interest. Bing. That's all it is. Now, that is very similar to the CD, which is I put my $100,000 in, I have a 3-year term. I can take it out before then, but it is subject to a early withdrawal penalty. And that is the same with a fixed annuity. There is a early withdrawal penalty because the insurance company and also the banks want to be able to plan on using that capital for those 3 years. And if that's not the case because of change in circumstances for the owner of that annuity or the owner of that CD, then they are going to charge an early withdrawal penalty. Not a bad deal. Now, difference between that CD and that fixed annuity is we all know that under $250,000, the CD is going to be guaranteed by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Now, what about your money at the insurance company? Well, it's based on the claims paying ability of the insurance company. There is no FDIC insurance with regard to a fixed annuity. So, that's where you have to look and see what the rating is on that insurance company. And there's Moody's rating and Standard & Poor's to make sure you're dealing with a top tier insurance company for the placement of your investments that you want to guarantee the principal and then get a rate of return based on contract terms. So there's those two. So we got cash, we have a CD, and now we have a fixed annuity. Okay, and we still like the upside of the market. So here's this other vehicle that you, as a listener here on the Professional Edge, we may have heard this. I think they're oversold. They're not exactly explained correctly. At least that's my opinion to potential individuals. So I'll do my best to give you the pros and cons of it. And it's called a fixed indexed annuity. Okay. So let's analyze that. Fixed means your principal is locked in. So I'm going to place this $100,000 in this fixed indexed annuity. Now, that's the fixed part. Your principal is guaranteed. Now, let's go to the next word, index. What does that mean? Well, companies can base, meaning the insurance company can base your rate of return based on the index. For example, what the S&P 500 index does. Now, they can say your participation rate is 80%. So if the S&P 500 index goes up 10%, you're only going to get 80% of that credited as interest to your fixed account. So in this example, $100,000, S&P goes up 10%. You're only going to get 80% based on the participation rate, and therefore you would be credited $8,000. Now, inside this fixed index annuity, when you're credited that $8,000, you're not taxed on that because it's inside this insurance wrapper. So that's another way of tax deferral if you had it in an after-tax account. We all know if we place a fixed index annuity within an IRA or a Roth IRA, then it's tax deferred anyway. So back to participation rate. So the first example was an 80% participation rate. Now, they could also have a 100% participation rate up to a ceiling. So it may say you get 100% participation up to 12%. That's it. So you're capped at that top level of 12%. So if we go back to 2023 or 2024, when the market went up 20%, then if you're in this fixed index annuity with 100% participation at 12% cap, then the S&P 500 index went up 20%. But the way this contract rules on 100% participation at a 12% cap, you would only get 12% of that overall 20% in the S&P 500 index. So you would be credited the $12,000, not the $20,000. But here's the great point of it. Once you're credited that $12,000, that gets locked in. Now, so your account is at 112. Well, let's say the market has a correction of 20%. Your value of your fixed index annuity is going to be $112,000. You do not participate when the market goes down. That's pretty significant, especially for a portion of your money in your portfolio that you're not going to use. Now, here's the thing that bugs a lot of people. There's a surrender period in these fixed index annuities because, again, the insurance company wants to know that you're committed. But again, if you got to get out, then they're going to assess a penalty. And usually that penalty, let's say an 8-year contract starts at 8% withdrawal penalty and it goes down 1% per year. So if you hold it the full 8 years, you're not subject to any early surrender penalty. So that's okay. Now, what if I had my IRA and I put all my IRA in this fixed index annuity because I wanted to protect the principal of that? Can I get out my required minimum distribution without a penalty, even if I'm taking that withdrawal in year one? The answer is yes. So ERISA comes to the rescue and it says, insurance company, you can't really keep the money that is required by law to come out and subject that to an early withdrawal penalty. Insurance companies capitulated and they said, okay, that's fine. So you could be in one of these, your entire IRA, not saying that I'm recommending that at all, but you would be able to take a distribution of your required minimum distribution without penalty, even if you're taking a distribution in those earlier years. Okay, so there's that scenario. So we have that annuity, $100,000 fixed index annuity with a 100% participation rate up to 12%. The market goes up 20%. You get your 12%. The market corrects 20%, and you're back down to, again, you had no loss. You're locked in for $112,000 in our example. Not a bad situation. Now, let's look at it again, a different angle. Well, if the market goes down 2 or 3 years in a row, you're still at 112. You don't have to go backwards. The only way your account goes down is if you withdraw some of the money and make distributions. And you say, okay, if let's change this. I'm not going to put my IRA money in there. I want to put one of these CDs for $100,000 in this fixed index annuity. And okay, that's fine. Let's run through that scenario. Well, on that, you say, all right, what if I need some money in year 2 or 3? Well, a lot of these contracts will have the what is called a liquidation provision. So it says that you can take out 10% per year of the original investment without penalty after the first year. Excuse me. So after year 1, you put in $100,000. The contract in our example is worth $112,000. Well, you can take out $10,000 penalty free. That's not a bad option either. Now, part of that's going to be income to you, but also a majority of that is going to be a return of your principal, which is going to come out tax-free. So again, it's a way to place part of your portfolio in an instrument that is protected from any downside risk in the market. You lock in your gains, and you have the potential of deferring taxes. So if you want to investigate that to see if that makes sense, and yes, now it's a wake-up call on the volatility of your overall investments, to where you got to ask yourself, what do I have in place to protect my principal and protect my gains? Well, stocks don't protect your gains. They don't protect your principal. Neither do mutual funds or ETFs. So if you want to have that conversation to see if this financial instrument makes sense for you, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner, host here on The Professional Edge, and I appreciate you listening in.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Sean Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with Sean, call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Sean Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Sean is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Sean Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach Estate Management Counselors and speak with Sean Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.